Before you go into this episode, see what Jacob sent to me just a short while after we actually recorded this episode that you're about to watch. He's added $240,000 of profit from what we cover in this episode. Yes, I know. I'm not speaking in hyperbole right here. $240,000 extra profit from what you're going to be able to see right now, exactly what we cover in this episode. This is not theory. This is not bullshit advice that so many others are putting out on YouTube and podcasts and on the interwebs right now. This is the stuff that actually works. And I want to be able to show you the hard evidence so that you are able to use this and actually apply it today.
All right, Jacob, so we can hit the ground running, brother. Who do you coach? What are you selling? And how are you selling it?
Yeah, so basically I coach solopreneurs or like one-man businesses primarily on LinkedIn from an audience that I've built. They are coaches, consultants, creators, creatives. This initial idea started as helping them add 5 to 10K a month to their existing business. Now it's gone to 15 to 20K a month. I'm selling it primarily through a Slack and a school group. It's kind of like a video-based course, if you like. We meet then once a week with a little Q&A, and then there's like DM exchanges and stuff like that. So I would say like a conventional school to DM kind of hybrid model.
Yep.
On the kind of more upper side, I help one-on-ones. That's kind of private channel, a little bit like with Voxer. I use Telegram and stuff to do pretty much the same, but just closer access.
Okay, great. Closer access. Okay, good. How much is the first level of the program?
So the first level of the program is 100 a week for 52 weeks.
Yep.
The second level of the program is double that. But initially that model was a 6-month model because I felt more confident selling it, and more recently pivoted into the yearly.
Okay, great. So it has turned to 52 weeks. All right, brilliant. How many people are in the 100 a week and how many people are in the 200 a week just at the moment?
So I have about 62 people on the 6-month program.
Okay,
and I would say over the last 9 months, I've had about 80 in total, with a little bit of, people leaving and stuff like that. And most recently, as of 2 weeks ago, I have about 22 people on the yearly.
Okay, brilliant. Do you know what your monthly churn rate is at the moment?
Monthly churn, I would say, when you say churn, do you mean kind of like the people that doze off?
Yeah, the people that are leaving the program. Like say if you've got 100 people inside of the program, how many people would leave in a month?
Yeah, I would say because it was a 6-month interval so far, I've only ever had 2 people leave before the end of the 6 months. But I look at renewal rates as well. So I try to bolt on that renewal. I would say out of 10 people, about 2 to 3 renew for another 6 months.
20, okay, so say 20, 30% renewal up. Okay, great. Okay, Jacob, what is the actual goal of the business? What do you want this to turn into?
Yeah, so I mean, this thing kind of started as a little bit of a fun idea because I already own an agency. So my plan is to now exit and sell the agency I've been running for 7 years. And do coaching and consulting full time, because I realize that's where my energy goes. My goal is to turn this into a 7-figure business, hit the first million by the end of 2024. I've kind of hit about 250 to 300K in the last 6 to 9 months. So I've proven that the model works. And obviously as a one-man show, it's kind of like, where do we go from here? All things pricing, hiring. And I'm not somebody who wants to hire a big team. I'd rather have a very small team. But that's what the aspiration is.
Okay. Let me ask you this question so I can best get to the crux to help. I'm going to give you 2 minutes on the clock. You got 120 seconds, and I want you to bitch and moan and complain about your business right now. Tell me everything that you just don't enjoy about it.
On the coaching side.
On the coaching side, correct.
Yeah. So
Yeah, don't
the-
talk to me about the agency because you'll probably talk about 24 hours on that one.
Oh,
So
okay.
just 2 minutes on the coaching.
Yeah. So if I was to start a bitch and moan at you right now, is I started this kind of headless chicken mode, learning as I went, built an audience on LinkedIn to 35,000 people, and then had the conventional problem. How on earth do I set this up? So at the time, coaches, mentors, whatever, came from different backgrounds. I set this up as a giant Slack group
Yeah.
where the hub was on Notion. So I started going, oh my God, I now have 60 people in a Slack room that DM me 100 times a day. Those boundaries were not set, those constraints were not set. Then I gave a lot more value than I anticipated. So people have everything, which increased churn at the beginning or drop off rates because they feel like they're being hit with a wall. Jacob isn't now responding. So I was like, do I need to hire somebody or whatever, or change the model to something I enjoy? Thank God for school. That is now saving my life with the new batch. And then also the other thing was I was always on the hamster wheel in terms of chasing payment plans and all of that. So I wished that I had started doing things a bit differently there. And then
Is
it's
that
kind
still
of
a problem now? Sorry to interrupt, but is that still a problem, the chasing payments?
no, because I figured out weekly pricing models and pay
Right.
upfront models to incentivize that. But I would say the other thing is the positioning exercise. I realized go for complete newbies, but the questions that I get are incredibly insane. Where I kind of thrive at is more finding that batch of people that are already making 5 to 10K and want to get to the next tier instead of your first 5 to 10K.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which has been a
Great.
problem.
Yeah. So it's interesting. The first book I ever wrote, and this was like a lead generation book for my last company, and it was called Your First 100 Clients. And if there was one change I would have made with that book, I wish I called it Your Next 100 Clients. Exactly for that reason. Do you mean that one word change is a very big change in market positioning and who it is that you attract with it? So let's just say, Jacob, if I was to bump into you in the street and I just go, hey, Jacob, what is it that you do? What's your, do you mean spiel?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I am a coach to other coaches, consultants, and creatives, and I help them get leads, scale their business, primarily through packaging premium offers and power writing, I call it, because a lot of my techniques are through social, through email marketing, and it's like without sales calls. So yeah.
How can you say that without me wanting to walk into oncoming traffic?
I would say I help solopreneurs scale their business to 10K with one funnel, no sales calls, and one offer.
Okay. Do you feel like saying I scale to 10K is still going to be attracting the newbies, or do you want to be coaching the newbies?
No, I mean, I think maybe it's a positioning thing because I can now make a claim that it's bigger, but until this point, I wasn't able to. Now I've got one-on-one clients as well that are hitting 20, 30, 50K a month.
Gotcha. Okay, fantastic. So this is where, like, let's say top of funnel, too cold traffic, do you mean open public content, your messaging, what is that? I think there needs to be a difference between, hey, I get you your first 10K, or I can add, let's say like what you said before, if I look at my notes, I can add 15 to 20K a month doing with it. I feel like it's, and again, I've got a bunch of different partners. Some partners coach baby turtles, like we call them the baby turtles, right? Like they're the people that want to get to their first 10 to 20K, for example. Mm-hmm. Very different market to deal with, very different market to sell to, compared to say like, hey, like if I bump into you, if you're a coach, consultant, or creative, I can show you with my XYZ system how to add an extra 15 to 20K a month MRR without sales calls or hiring new team members.
Yeah, that's my bread and butter in the one-on-one territory. I love that work because they have an audience, they have a high ticket offer.
Why can't you have that offer in the group offer? Why does
I
it have to be
can.
one-on-one?
I can. I think what happened was for me, I was attracting the newbies, probably
Yeah.
because of the messaging.
Yeah.
But then when those newbies hit 10, 20, 30K, they started having different problems.
Yeah.
So the only way to get them in was go one-on-one as a natural next renewal.
Yeah.
But great shout, because if I just attract them from the get-go, my life is so much easier because I have the systems from the one-on-ones.
So a couple of questions then to delineate this. Who do you much rather coach? Who do you feel more energized when you coach? The baby turtles or the more advanced coaches?
The more advanced coaches, 100%.
Who is easier to sell to, the baby turtles or the more advanced coaches?
Currently, the baby turtles, but when the bigger coaches are solution aware, then when they come to me and they're just ready, hot, ready to buy, it's not even a matter of sales. They're like, when do I get started? And that's what's happened over 5 times so far.
Do you think that's because the current messaging right now is maybe more geared towards the baby turtles? So the more advanced coaches, they kind of got a couple more hoops to jump through, or they've kind of got a little bit more of the weeds to pass through until they're like, oh, Jacob actually gives me exactly what I want.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I found that in the messaging, like I've attracted, let's say, a lady who's a sales coach with a similar following to me, just couldn't sell by chat. So it was a copywriting kind of thing.
Yep.
Jumped into her email list, plug and play almost, or just done with you hybrid, wrote a few emails, bang. So it's like helping a winner win is much easier.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with that. So, what else do you think is missing or broken in the business right now?
On from the outside or on the inside?
Both. You can answer both.
I think one thing you've just kind of unlocked is the messaging, because it was more, maybe it's a limiting belief, maybe it was just the path to this that led here, is if you're attracting people that don't have that, then your messaging needs to change and all the case studies need to change, because if you're showing how somebody's made 50K, then the 10K guy will want in.
Yep.
Right now I'm showing somebody how to get to 5 and 10, which means they don't even have 5 and 10 and they're trying to get there, which is one. On the inside, it's more the delivery piece, like how do we keep everybody happy with a scalable model, which is kind of a hybrid offer now that I'm coming to terms with, and clearly identifying those constraints and boundaries. So we are meeting once or twice a week. It's in this setting on these days. These are the essentials.
Yeah.
I don't answer DMs in this tier. If you want it, you pay double. Then the mentorship piece that was missing is the people who want Slack or Vox or whatever mentorship, that's that fee. If you want more than that on Zoom, that's a different fee, which is triple the price, for example.
Yeah.
But you are still in a group tier, which then makes my one-on-one, which was originally a bottleneck because I started one-on-one, a much higher and more enjoyable fee now. Because then to get to that level of proximity, I could be charging quadruple, for example.
Yeah. Let me, I'm just going to jump in for a second. Couple of things are coming to me already. One, if you hadn't watched the episode I did with James Kemp, the last one that I did with James, when we talked exactly about this, like a bunch of the mistakes and learnings that we've gone through when it comes to boundaries in communication, when it comes to delivery with clients and stuff like that, I highly recommend checking that out. I remember when I first started my very first online coaching business, it was in the fitness market. It was 2014. I gave people phone access to me to be able to like message me direct, like clients message me directly. Dude, this thing nearly got thrown out the window 100 times a day because my wife was like, what the is that doing to me? Like it was just constantly going off. I was like, oh shit, what have I done wrong? So 100%, I think that's really clear. I think we can swing back to what that is as well. Two main points I want to share with you, Jacob, where it comes to the importance of the messaging that you put out into the world to attract the right type of clients. I'll use an exact example that I actually used yesterday with something that I shared. So I shared this post yesterday on Instagram stories and on Facebook. Okay. And so I was like, so this was a screenshot from one of my partners, like, brother, cracked $1 million profit for the quarter. Freaking ecstatic. Funny thing is, I'm the happiest I've ever been in business and only did the things I love. Love you, man. Like, we're just warming up, right? So he's doing $1 million every 90 days profit. And he's super pumped because he's actually in his zone of genius. Now, I specifically chose that case study and testimonial picture so that I can attract the higher level players, right? So who are the types of people that came to me yesterday inquiring about becoming a partner? One was running a $3.5 million coaching business. The other was running a $7 million coaching business, right? Was there at that level of the end. If I was to share a case study about like, hey, so happy, I just added $10,000. Do you know what I mean? The $7 million guy is going to scroll past that and never think of it again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And someone that's like, oh, I would love $10,000. That would change my life. $10,000 added to the $7 million coaching business, dude, it makes zero difference to him. Zero difference. So the conversation we had yesterday was, how do we get him to $20 million a year? And how does he do less? And because he just wants to be able to like read and study and enjoy life more with his family, right? So think about the messaging about who you're wanting to attract now. Now, if I was to get a little bit more advanced into this conversation, and let's say, especially if it was, hey, we're really focusing on paid acquisition. Okay. Now, if we're like building paid acquisition, we've got this with a few different partners where it's like, we will build different verticals out. So we'll literally build different funnels for different avatars. So let's say eventually what you can do, Jacob, is like, all right, I'm going to build one funnel that is for just attracting the baby turtles, the baby turtle funnel. I get you to $10,000 to $20,000 a month starting from scratch. Like, that's one funnel, right? Then you build another vertical that is, do you want to add $20,000 to $30,000 a month? Do you know what I mean? And they're like already above, like, let's say you want to go from $20,000 to $50,000 a month, right? Or do you want to go from 30 to $1 million, right? So like, what's that gap that you want to do? And you create a different vertical. Now, the complexity in doing that is you don't want those to overlap, because then they'll start getting mixed messages. So you just keep them different, which the complexity comes to, like, let's say if you're just sharing on Instagram or your LinkedIn profile or whatever that is, you'll have to talk to both different things and make that clear. But obviously I want to start with just one, like with where you're at right now. So I would say, what's the one market that we want to focus on until we get to $1 million a year, Jacob? And then you can have the discussion and start building on from that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think what you're saying, I can't make or support at the point where I am in life now, somebody who's making more than $1 million, let's say, because that has been the cap for me. I may be able to, but if I haven't done it and I haven't walked the talk, I feel like I'd give less good advice.
You said something really early on in this conversation. I'll have to go back through the recording and pull this back out. But you said something along the lines of like, oh, now I can actually help someone do $15,000 to $20,000. When you said that, my ears perked up and go, oh, this is interesting. You've got great authenticity when it comes to what you're doing, because you're like, oh, I have the track record to now get you to here, for example. Do you know what I mean? So like for me, I'm very comfortable with saying like, hey, I can get someone to 8 figures and start getting into those low 8 figures amounts, because that's where I'm at. If someone comes to me and goes, I want to get to 100 million a year, I'm not your man. I'm not your man. I don't have the skills. I don't have the experience. I don't have the chops to be able to say, yes, I can do that with full confidence, knowing that I can be able to do that, right? So you're staying within your lane. So what you said, I was like, oh, that's very interesting. So is it one, your self-belief? Is that the limiting factor with what's holding you back right now with the message that you're putting out into the world?
Mhm.
If you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think because I've had an 100K month in the past, and in terms of how I feel and everything, like that didn't change. So I was like, okay, on the energy side, I've
Yeah.
now unlocked this thing and I know how it feels. On the consulting side, I have dealt with people that have made more than that and the problems were the same. And that's where I kind of said, oh, if you're making 100 or 200 or 300, okay, there is a difference, but I can now talk to you. Whereas before I was a bit shy, I wasn't sure. But once I unlocked it, I was like, I don't care if it's 100 or 150. Processes are the same. Everything's the same. I think maybe with the messaging piece, I would shy away from revealing figures simply because of privacy. But I noticed going into Facebook, for example, that coaching bubble is so much more authentic than where I was coming from. So that gave me comfort to share the numbers. It's like, I'm proud of what I'm building every month.
Awesome.
Whereas before I was kind of like, no, don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
But the moment you do, you gain recognition. So I was like, okay, don't give it to you're not going to give anyone your password, are you?
Yeah.
But you can share a screenshot of your own Stripe account or whatever it is. And that started to shift dynamics, because when I was just saying 4 or 5 figures, they were like, well, what is that? Is it 1K?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Totally. I totally get that.
If you've made it this far, seriously, thank you. I appreciate you being here. But real quick, if you are a coach or consultant who wants to be able to build a self-growing business without bloated team, a big ad budget, or working more than 3 hours a day, then make sure that you hit subscribe, because everything I share here is built for founders just like you, because it's likely that you are done chasing bigger and ready to build better. So let's get back to it.
Okay, that's really good. So the other thread that I wanted to pull for you is the bundling and the unbundling side of what the offer is. So let's just say, for example, you're going to be like, hey, you know what? I really want to focus on the more advanced coaches. And what I do is I have a system that gets you to add $15,000 to $20,000 a month. But like, you'll need to flesh that out doing, so there's sexiness and its attractiveness to that, what that offer is. And then obviously the bundling and the unbundling of the delivery side of it, because that's where he said like, oh, I can do that for one-on-ones. And I'm like, does it have to be one-on-ones? Why can't you offer that in a group scenario? So there's ability to handle more people. Granted, you might want to cap it. Do you mean? So with us, with partnering, we cap our partners. We know there's a very hard number that we're going to stop at once we get there. And we're totally cool with it, because I don't want to work more than that. Do you know what I mean? I was like, that gives me ample money and I'm so happy with what those profits would be. I just don't think I want more money there. Now, I can radically change my perception when I get there. And if I become do you know what I mean? A prick that's just like, oh my God, I want more, then I'll do that, but you'll be able to call me out on it. Do you know what I mean? And say like, what's up? But I think that's a case of, with the bundling and the unbundling, it is, what is it that your system, so like you said one-on-one. So what I want to do is I go, okay, change it from one-on-one and change that word to a system. What is the system where you can put someone in at the start of the system, and it's going to, at the end of it, it's going to give them an extra $20,000 a month. Do you know what I mean? Income. Now, how do you do that so it's as easy as possible for them to achieve it and easy as possible for you to deliver it with the least amount of operational drag inside of that? The other thing as well that I would just be careful of, just because I've had this conversation with quite a few coaches. Yes, you can give people more access to you, Jacob, if you wanted to. But giving more access to people and even charging a little bit more, does that take you away from being able to, do you know what I mean, build the main thing? And that's what I'm like, keep the main thing the main thing. Yeah?
Yeah, I felt that very quickly when I opened up one-to-one access again, because I shut it off when I went to group and then saw an opportunity. So I opened it. Now I've kind of just capped my spots and said, I only want to deal with a select few people.
Yes.
Because energetically, you just get drained. You end up, what you said before with the phone, right? It doesn't stop ringing. You give them access, it's game over. And then it's reconditioning some things. Like I would always give away too much in the one-on-one, but realized, give them options. It's either you want me on Telegram or whatever, or we get one call now bi-weekly, whereas before it was like, here's my calendar, book when you want, do what you want. So it's realizing that boundary setting. You get to be the kind of leader. And then what you said before about the group is, I already know in my mind, because before this program was very LinkedIn based, but I've slowly turned it into principles. That's why I went into yearly now, because I don't care how long you're in there for. You can rewatch that. You can reapply that thing. And it's exactly what I was doing for this done for you piece. But now I'm like, here are the scripts. Here's everything. Just go plug them into your business and it will work.
Love that. Okay. So I'm coming back to these two key things I would love for you to be able to take from today's conversation to really nail. And that's going to be number one, what's the clear offer that you have? So I think we've gotten really clear on number one, the market, who that market needs to be, the messaging. So if you think of like the triangle, where it's like message, market, medium, it's like, okay, cool. We're clear on the market, who they need to be now. The message, what is that clear offer? Like, what is it? I literally just had a conversation just before we jumped on this. And I just said to him, I was like, dude, what is it that you need to say to a prospect for them to think I would be an absolute dickhead not to take this right now and at least try it? Right.
Yeah.
So what is that no-brainer of an offer that where you bump into them and you can say, yeah, if you're a coach, creative, or a consultant, do you know what I mean? I can add $20,000 a month to your income with this, without this, whatever, what that is. So I want you to be able to nail that, because then I feel like if you can articulate that, so this is the second part of it, articulate that through your messaging from what it is that you're sharing, you will naturally start to attract the right people. You will repulse the wrong type of people because they're just not going to look at it. Just like what I shared yesterday. Do you know what I mean? The right people that I'm wanting to attract at that high level, they're going to stop and take notice of that, because someone doing 10, 20, 30, $50,000 a month is, I don't think a majority of them will go, oh, I can achieve $1 million profit every quarter, like 4 million profit a year. I can do that, when they're only doing, do you know what I mean? 30,000.
I mean, I had the same feeling because I saw your story and I was like, there you go. Happy for you, but I'm not in there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So that's a great example. So then use those examples, use those stories and those stories from yourself in your content to make sure you're giving that right vibe out and you're attracting in those right people. So when it comes to the messaging, is it still LinkedIn that the bulk of your lead generation is coming from?
Well, what I've done now, since I've gotten mentorship from people that are in the Facebook space, I just started adding a lot of people and running a very small budget of paid ads to test the waters there. I'm already having conversations with people doing 7 figures as of a week or so ago, scaled that to like 3,000 people or so. But those people are exactly the ones that are curious, that get on my list. I've got like a little daily client machine going on, get introduced into my world through writing, which is my kind of way of doing it best. And then once they're in, they buy my, off the shelf front end offer. So I've got them in the funnel and it feels more natural. Right. And I realized with Facebook ads, you can really razor target exactly who you want. So Beautiful. Even if I get 2 to 3 leads in this testing phase, they are warm and ready to buy.
Beautiful.
So
and what have you learned from that process thus far?
The Facebook process.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've learned that, my messaging is super clear to those people. I've realized making the bolder claims attracts a little bit of that. The other bit is kind of like cleaning out who doesn't need to be there. I'd rather have a smaller audience of the right audience instead of a large generic one, like I grew my LinkedIn.
Yep.
And getting somebody going from a lead to a customer as soon as possible. Like I've seen a lot of crazy big VSL funnels and all of that. I kind of disagree. I'm like, just get into my world, snoop in. If you like it, you can buy this $100 thing, and then I can sell to you through my list.
Perfect. So
Uh,
get someone that doesn't know Jacob. We're going to get them to know Jacob, and it looks like we can really start to utilize, Facebook ads to be able to do that. We're getting them into the list, and we're using email as the main mechanism to then get into the $100 offer. Is that correct?
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Love that. Completely agree with that. So do you know your numbers behind the ads to what it is the ad has to do to know how much you're spending, for example, to how much acquiring a new client is?
Not yet, because I only did
pretty
a
early
very
days.
small test, but I would say compared to if I do a LinkedIn post, I get about 10 subs a day.
Yeah.
And that might be 1 in 10 buying it. On Facebook, I've had about 4 or 5 leads come through, of which more than 50% bought. So I was like, that's a sign. Put money on that.
Right.
And that was just organic. So I tested a super small budget because I need to figure out how to run the ads and do all of that. But it was a significantly bigger ratio there than it was on LinkedIn.
Amazing.
say.
So
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident from here to say, look, in the next 90 days, Jacob, if there was 3 things I'd love for you to really focus on and crack, it would be really nailing down what is your highest converting offer. Secondly, really working on, and I love that, Jimmy, you're saying like writing is your thing, because I have a love for it as well. So like really hone and craft that messaging so that you're talking directly to that new market with that new offer, right? So like when you sit down and create now, you're very clear now on who that person is that you're talking to and what it is that you're wanting to get them to as well. So that's the messaging to move them along that path. And the third one is I would really lean into and make sure that you can start scaling through the ads from what's happening now and getting clear on, what is your cost per lead? What is your cost per sales conversation? What is your cost per acquisition? And even just knowing those 3 numbers to begin with. Ideally, we will also want to know like how much money you're collecting throughout the process to then know how much you put back in. So let's just say, for example, it's the start of the month. We go, great. Let's say I've got an ad budget of $3,000 this month. I go, cool. At the end of the month, we would sit down and look at the process and go, cool. How many leads came through? How many sales happened? How much money did we collect? Fantastic. It worked. All right. We're going to up it by 10% for next month and go, right. I'm going to put an extra 10% of budget into it for the month to follow, and we go through that same process as well. So like this was literally the exact conversation I had at Alex Hormozi's dinner table when I was at his place a while ago when we were talking about ads, and it was just mud math. He was like, here's basic mud math to figure this stuff out. And so if it's working, add a little bit more, because then you'll see you're not going to be stressing out, because the money that you're making from the ads and you're putting that back, not all of it, but well, you could if you want to, but you put a portion of that back into the budget for the next month to then follow through. So you're not stressing out over like, oh shit, I hope these ads are going to work this month. Do you know what I mean? Because you know that you're already making money from what you did. And you're using, like, let's say if we use the analogy of gambling, you're using their house's money to then be able to help you grow your ad budget as you go through, right? Because technically we don't have an ad budget per se, because we want to create the selling system where I put $10 in, Zuckerberg gives me $30 back, right? And I'm like, I'm going to play that game all day, every day from there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think what my front end offer does is exactly that, because once they're in, within 3 emails in the sequence, they buy the offer. So I just grab that $100 and put them back, give them back to Zucky. So it pays itself. And I was like, okay, if this is happening organically, I had about, 4 figures in sales organic without any ads at all. What happens when you splash ads? Like the system works. Just exactly generate more. But I was kind of looking at, is it a lead magnet that it is? I just did it through a little post with myself and a cat straight in. And I was like, oh, that works. And then it's optimizing how you're going to do it. But I think, so you mentioned number 1 is the messaging. Number 2 is honing down on the writing so people can see that this is the way to do it, and the ads, right?
Correct. Yeah. So I would label them as the first one is the high converting offer. So what's the highest converting offer? What like, and honing in exactly what that like message, pitch, hook, promise is. Then it's the messaging of what it is that you need to be able to do to continue to nurture your leads once they're through to come into the actual buying process. And then the ads, how to get new people into your ecosystem.
Okay.
So if you look at it, the Facebook ads that's how you get people that don't know you to know you. The clear offer is the actual selling part of it. And the messaging is the lead nurture to get them into the selling part of it. So that's how, like, what we've actually just gone through is actually going through, oh, okay, this is your top of funnel, this is your middle of funnel, this is your bottom of funnel. We kind of just broke that down for you in that conversation there.
All right, that's it for today. And if this did hit home for you today, and if you are building a business that's meant to give you more money and more freedom, then I want you to be able to do two things before you go. One, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because it'll be a bummer if you missed out on everything else to come. Number two, grab the link in the description and be able to book in your free demo so you can see the exact systems, the exact process, and you can be able to install it inside of your business. Because remember, this channel is for coaches and creators who want a daily income, simple systems, and to be able to take time off. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.